At my mother-in-law's anniversary celebration, my husband suddenly shouted across the ballroom, "You're embarrassing my family. Go wait in the car." Moments later, he ordered his security team to escort me out and lock me inside the sedan. I kept knocking on the tinted window, desperate and shaking, until the driver quietly turned toward me and said, "Serena, please don't cry. Your father completed the documents today. This car, the security team, the entire company, they belong to you now. I'm waiting for your instructions. What should we do about your husband?" Hello, everyone. Comment where you're watching from, don't forget to subscribe, and enjoy the story. But to understand how a simple music teacher ended up facing such a decision, we need to go back just 1 hour earlier. The grand ballroom of Atlanta's prestigious St. Regis was glowing with crystal chandeliers and towering floral arrangements. Tables overflowed with gourmet dishes, and the air was heavy with perfume and luxury. It was Patricia Thorne's 65th birthday. Marcus's mother an event attended by the city's wealthiest families, all eager to honor a woman who viewed herself as the queen of philanthropy. Serena Hawthorne stood quietly near a marble column, hoping not to draw attention. She smoothed the hem of her modest beige dress, the one she had sewn herself after 3 long nights, trying to save money because Marcus insisted the company couldn't afford new clothes. But surrounded by women in sparkling gowns and glittering jewelry, her handmade dress made her feel painfully small. She searched the room for her husband. Marcus Thorne, elegant, confident, and flawless in a tailored tuxedo, moved through the crowd like he owned the place. He shook hands, laughed loudly, and charmed everyone in sight. For him, this evening wasn't just his mother's celebration, it was a display of power. When Marcus finally noticed Serena, his expression hardened. He walked over, squeezing her elbow with a grip that hurt. "Why are you standing here like a forgotten guest?" he muttered through clenched teeth. "Go to the main table. Mom is about to speak. And straighten your posture. You're the CEO's wife, not someone hiding in a basement." Serena swallowed her hurt and did as he asked. She approached Patricia Thorne, who was surrounded by admirers. Patricia, dressed in deep velvet, stood like royalty receiving tributes. Serena lifted a champagne glass simply to steady her trembling hands and stepped forward to offer her greeting. "Patricia, happy birthday," she said softly. Patricia turned sharply, swinging her arm out as if Serena wasn't even there. Her elbow struck Serena, the glass slipped, and it shattered loudly against the floor. The music stopped. Conversations died. A few drops of champagne landed on Patricia's gown. A suffocating silence fell. Patricia sighed theatrically, brushing her dress as though assaulted by something far worse than a small splash. "Well," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "what else could I expect?" Marcus rushed over. His face wasn't ashamed. It was furious. He noticed business partners glancing at each other. His perfect image had been dented. "What is wrong with you?" he shouted, making Serena flinch. "Can't you hold a simple glass? Were you trying to ruin this night?" "She bumped into me," Serena tried to explain, her voice shaking. "Enough," he snapped. "You always find excuses. Look at yourself. You're plain, clumsy, and all you do is make me look bad. I took you out of nothing and this is how you repay me?" He grabbed her arm and dragged her across the ballroom. Guests watched with a mix of judgment and cold amusement. "Marcus, please, you're hurting me," she whispered. "Let them watch," he growled. "Let them see exactly what I'm dealing with." 2 security guards hurried over. "Get her out," Marcus ordered, pushing Serena toward them. "Put her in the car. Lock it. She stays there until I decide what happens next." The guards followed the command without hesitation. Serena felt her will collapse. They led her outside, shoved her into the executive sedan, slammed the door, and activated the lock. She sat alone in the dim interior, staring at the glowing ballroom windows. Inside, the celebration continued without her. Her husband was probably already toasting again, as if she never existed. Her chest tightened. She pounded on the door, crying out for someone, anyone to hear. The humiliation burned so deeply she wanted to disappear. Then she realized she wasn't alone. The driver, Mr. James, was still in his seat. He had worked for the family for decades, always silent and respectful. Marcus often mocked him, but never dismissed him because he knew every road better than any device. Now Mr. James turned off the engine and faced her in the mirror. His expression wasn't timid. It wasn't sympathetic. It was steady, focused, unusually firm. "Serena," he said quietly, "stop. Crying won't help you now." She wiped her cheeks, startled by his tone. "Mr. James, please open the door," she whispered. "I'll go home on my own. I'll take a bus." "No," he replied. And the truth he revealed next would change everything. The driver cut her off before she could speak. "We're not going anywhere until you know the truth." He turned fully toward her, holding a tablet in his hands. "Marcus Thorne believes your father is a wandering failure who lives off the grid," Mr. James said evenly. "That story was intentional. Your father, Fletcher Bloit, wanted to see what kind of man your husband truly was. The test lasted 10 years, and today it ended." Serena blinked, stunned. None of this made sense. Her father did live simply. She had even been secretly sending him money from her small salary for years. "This morning, your father activated the blind trust transfer protocol," Mr. James continued, offering her the tablet. "Look." Serena took it with shaking hands. A document from the Secretary of State's corporate registry filled the screen. The words blurred for a moment, and then Mr. James tapped the line she needed to see. "Read it aloud." Her lips parted. "Owner of Thorne Group of Companies, Serena B. Hawthorne." She stared at the name again and again, hers, not Marcus's. "But how?" she whispered. "Marcus is the CEO. He runs everything." "Marcus Thorne was never the owner," Mr. James said sharply. "He was a hired manager. His contract was for 10 years. It expired yesterday at midnight." He held her gaze, and she finally saw the steel behind his calm exterior. "As of this minute, Marcus Thorne has no position, no authority, no rights over the company. And you, Serena, you are his employer. You own the business, the cars, the assets, and yes, those same guards who pushed you into this vehicle." Serena turned her head toward the ballroom's glowing windows. Inside, Marcus laughed, toasted, and held court like a king. "Your father waited until Marcus revealed his true nature," Mr. James added quietly. "He revealed it tonight. Now the next move is yours." Serena clutched the tablet as if it were the only solid thing in a collapsing world. Owner, Hawthorne, SB. It stayed there, steady and undeniable. "Why didn't my dad tell me?" she whispered. "Why let Marcus treat me like this for years?" "So you could see the man behind the charm," Mr. James replied. "And so Marcus wouldn't suspect anything." He reached into his jacket and handed her a folded sheet of paper. "Marcus didn't just throw you out of the party. He planned to erase you tomorrow morning." Serena unfolded the document. It was a divorce petition, the date, tomorrow. Under the Asset Division section, it stated she would receive nothing, no home, no support, no property. "He intended to serve this to you at breakfast," the driver said. "Once his contract expired, he planned to have security escort you out permanently. In his eyes, you were no longer useful." Something in Serena cracked open. All the pain and humiliation drained away, replaced by a cold, clean clarity. For 10 years she had patched his clothes, saved money so he could look impressive, endured snide remarks from his mother, and kept her head down, all while loving him with her whole heart. And he had simply been waiting for the clock to run out. Serena straightened her back. Her tears vanished. "Mr. James," she said, her voice newly sharp. "Open the door." The driver nodded approvingly. He unlocked the doors and handed her a thick envelope. "Your father asked me to pass this to you, a reserve fund. You may find it useful tonight." Serena stepped out of the car. The night air felt different, charged, no longer cold. She smoothed her handmade dress. It didn't feel shabby anymore. It felt symbolic, a reminder of her strength. As she approached the entrance, one of the guards who had removed her earlier tried to block her path. "Miss Hawthorne, we were instructed not to—" A single throat clear from Mr. James cut him off. The guard froze, then stepped aside, pushing open the heavy doors with silent deference. Serena walked into the ballroom. Music played, guests laughed, glasses chimed. Marcus stood at the center, telling a joke with exaggerated confidence. Patricia sat like royalty, basking in admiration. Serena moved toward them. The first few guests noticed her and fell silent. The hush spread through the room like a gust of wind. Soon the entire ballroom quieted. Even the musicians stopped. Marcus turned and stared at her, his face twisting with fury. He excused himself abruptly and strode toward her. "Have you lost your mind?" he hissed. "I told you to wait in the car. Are you trying to cause a spectacle? Security!" 2 guards entered, but instead of obeying him, they simply crossed their arms and stared. Serena didn't even slow down. She walked past Marcus as if he were a shadow and stepped onto the small stage. She gripped the microphone. "Get her down from there!" Marcus shouted. "Mom, say something!" Patricia rose halfway, lips parted to deliver another cutting remark, but Serena's voice filled the room before she could speak. "Good evening again." Her tone, amplified by the speakers, carried across the ballroom with calm authority. "I apologize for the interruption, but I am required to make an important announcement." Everyone held their breath. "I, Serena B. Hawthorne, am the sole owner and founder of the Thorne Group of Companies." A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Someone laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank. Marcus barked an uneasy laugh. "Everyone, please pay no attention. My wife is under stress. Serena, step down before—" "Due to confirmed misuse of corporate funds," Serena continued steadily, "I am ordering this event to end immediately. This banquet was paid for using company resources without authorization. Funding is withdrawn. I ask all guests to leave the premises." Marcus's face drained of color. He lunged toward her, reaching for the microphone. "You're delusional," he snarled. "What owner? You're nothing." Marcus spat. "Security, remove her right now or you're all fired." At that exact moment, Mr. James, still standing by the entrance, gave a subtle nod to the head of security. The 2 massive guards stepped forward, not toward Serena, but toward Marcus. They blocked his path to the stage like an iron wall. "Mr. Thorne," one of them said firmly, "please step back. That is the owner's order." Marcus froze. His eyes darted between the guards and Serena, uncomprehending. Whispers rippled through the room, a rising tide of shock and scandal. "This is a prank!" Patricia shrieked. "Marcus, do something!" Marcus lifted his chin, trying to salvage the shreds of his dignity. He turned to the guests with a strained smile. "Everyone, please ignore this. It's just a private matter. We'll resolve everything. Waiters, champagne. Orchestra, continue." But the orchestra did not lift their instruments. The waiters did not move. Their faces were grim, tired, and oddly relieved. Serena raised the microphone again. "There will be no champagne," she said calmly, "and no music, because Marcus Thorne forgot to mention something very important." She paused just long enough for the tension to snap taut. "He's bankrupt." A gasp sliced through the ballroom. Serena reached into the envelope Mr. James had given her. "I learned tonight that the catering service and staff have not been paid for 3 months, she announced. "Marcus has been making promises while hosting grand events using the company's final resources." Marcus flinched as if struck. In this social world, personal drama might be ignored, but financial failure was fatal. "That's not true," he croaked. Serena stepped to the edge of the stage and addressed the head waiter, an older man with weary eyes. "Here is the full 3-month payment, and a bonus for tonight." She placed the thick stack of bills in his hands. "Please distribute it now." The head waiter blinked, stunned, then he nodded and signaled to his colleagues. A deep, eerie silence fell as the waiters began dividing the money right there at the tables. The soft rustle of bills was louder than any accusation. The guests stepped back from Marcus, their expressions turning cold. In their world, unpaid staff was a reputation-ending offense. Marcus stood alone, sweating, red-faced, cornered by truth. He finally looked at Serena not as a burden, but as someone powerful, someone dangerous. "And now," Serena said, lowering the microphone, "this event is over." Guests filed out quietly, careful not to meet Marcus's or Patricia's eyes. It was not just the end of a banquet, it was a public downfall. The next morning, Marcus woke up in a motel. He hadn't dared return home. His head throbbed, but anger pushed him upright. This had to be some glitch, some ridiculous trick by his elderly father-in-law. He'd fix it. He always fixed everything. By 8 a.m., he stood at the glass doors of the Thorn Group headquarters. He swiped his keycard. Denied. Again, denied. "What is this?" he snarled. "Lena, your system is malfunctioning." Lena, usually flustered in his presence, sat stiffly at her desk. Today, she wasn't blushing. Her face was pale. "Mr. Thorn, I'm sorry," she whispered. "Your access has been deactivated." "By who? I'm the CEO. Restore it immediately." "I can't." She pointed at the announcement board. Marcus stormed over and read the new directive pinned to the wall. Directive number 1, immediate removal of CEO Marcus Thorn due to loss of trust and contract expiration. Acting authority transferred. Signed, S.B. Hawthorne. Marcus ripped the paper off the board, crushed it, and threw it to the floor. "This is fake," he screamed. "I'm calling the police. You'll all regret this." Security approached, hands near their batons. Marcus bolted from the lobby. He had one plan left: get home, access the original documents, and force Serena to sign everything back. By pressure if needed, by threats if needed. He would reclaim control. 20 minutes later, his car skidded to a halt in front of their gated estate. He ran to the pedestrian gate and punched in the code. Nothing. He pressed the buzzer. Silence. "Serena, open this gate!" he yelled, shaking it violently. "I know you're inside." He kicked the metal. A neighbor, a retired colonel watering his lawn, looked over. "Marcus, what is this racket?" he demanded. "Serena is home. She asked not to be disturbed." "This is my house," Marcus shrieked. "She changed the locks." He clawed at the fence, slipped, cursed, then grabbed a stone and hurled it at a window. The glass cracked but didn't break. "That's enough," the colonel snapped. "Another action like that and I'm calling the authorities." "Call them!" Marcus shouted. "Let them remove this imposter!" Inside the house, Serena watched from the second-floor window, her heart hammered painfully. Marcus looked wild, desperate, almost unrecognizable. Yesterday she would have rushed to calm him. Yesterday she still believed she owed him something. "Maybe I should speak to him," Serena whispered. "He's still my husband." Mr. James, sitting at the kitchen table with a calm cup of tea, shook his head. "No, Serena. Compassion is dangerous right now." He stood and placed a small cardboard box on the windowsill beside her. "I retrieved this from his office safe this morning," he said. "Your guards let me inside." Serena opened the box. Inside were several folders. "What is this?" she asked. "The answer to the one question you keep avoiding," Mr. James said softly. "Why?" Serena hesitated, then opened the top folder. Her breath caught. Photographs, dozens of them. Her childhood home, her father working in the garden, Serena walking home from music school, all taken secretly, all stamped with dates. The earliest timestamp was 6 months before she ever met Marcus. "He was watching us," Serena whispered, horror creeping into her voice. He was observing us." "Not just watching," Mr. James said. "He was studying his target." Beneath the photos lay a thick contract on heavy paper, decorated with gold embossing and investment agreement. Serena lifted it, and the letters blurred for a moment. She forced herself to focus. The agreement stated plainly that Fletcher Bloit, her father, had transferred the initial funding and management rights of the company to Marcus Thorn on the condition that he marry Serena B. Hawthorne. But the most devastating part was Section 4.2. Full transfer of ownership to Marcus Thorn will occur only after 10 continuous years of marriage. If divorce is initiated by Marcus Thorn before that term, he forfeits all rights and must pay a penalty. Serena read the line 3 times. Yesterday, Patricia's anniversary had been exactly 10 years since the wedding. "He waited," Serena whispered, her voice hollow. There were no tears left, only a cold emptiness spreading through her chest. "He stayed with me for 10 years, because of this clause." "Exactly," Mr. James said softly. "Every bouquet, every smile, every moment part of a job. He did not want to share a life with you. He wanted what he believed would be his reward at the end." Serena turned the page. There, printed with casual cruelty, was an email exchange between Marcus and his lawyer dated last week. "Prepare the paperwork the moment the clock strikes midnight on the 15th. I want her out by morning. Ensure she gets nothing. I've wasted 10 years on that gray nobody." A rising wail of a police siren drifted through the window. Outside, Marcus fell silent as officers pinned him against the patrol car. Serena closed the folder. Her hands were steady now. Those cold, efficient lines of text had extinguished the last spark of pity inside her. 10 years of her life had never been a marriage. It had been a business plan, and she had been an obstacle to the assets. "Mr. James," she said quietly, "call the officers. Tell them we won't be filing a vandalism report." The driver raised an eyebrow. "You want to let him go?" "No." Serena turned to him, her expression calm, almost serene. "If he spends a few days in a cell, he gets off too lightly. I want him free. I want him awake. I want him to watch everything he thought he owned disappear." She reached for the next folder. Patricia Thorne, condo documents. "Well then," she said, "let's deal with his mother." Before she could open it, the front door downstairs rattled violently. A key scraped in the lock. "I know you're in there," Patricia screeched. "You changed the gate code, but you forgot my spare key." Serena exhaled slowly. Of course. Marcus had given his mother a key years ago so she could inspect the house whenever she pleased. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. The living room door burst open. Patricia stood there, still wearing the wrinkled, smeared burgundy gown from last night's party. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes wild. "You!" she shrieked, rushing toward Serena. "You ruined my son! You humiliated us in front of the entire city!" Her hand glittering with a massive ring flew toward Serena's face. Yesterday, Serena would have closed her eyes and accepted the slap, just as she had accepted years of belittling, but that Serena had stayed locked in the car. With perfect timing, she caught Patricia's wrist mid-air, stopping it cold. Patricia gasped, shocked, trying to yank her hand back. Serena's grip didn't budge. "Don't you ever," Serena said calmly, "raise your hand to me again." She released her. Patricia stumbled, clutching the back of a chair. You can't speak to me this way," she sputtered. "I'm the queen of this city. I will destroy you. Marcus will fix everything. You'll crawl back to us." Serena walked to the table and picked up the folder. "Marcus won't fix anything," she said, "and you're not the queen of this city. You're not even the owner of your condo." Patricia scoffed. "My condo is deeded to me. It's my fortress." "It was," Serena corrected, "until your son played financier." She laid a bank-stamped contract in front of Patricia. "Read this mortgage agreement." Patricia frowned, scanning the page. "What is this?" "Marcus told me it was just a formality for business expansion." "It's a lien," Serena explained. "Marcus used your condo as collateral for a risky loan to cover his mismanagement. He expected to gain full control of my company in a week and repay it, but he miscalculated." Serena let the silence stretch as Patricia's face lost all color. "The deadline passed last week," Serena continued. "He defaulted. The bank is entitled to seize the property." "No," Patricia whispered. "No, he couldn't." "He could," Serena said. "And he did. And since the majority of that bank is owned by my father's holding company, I make the final decision." She produced another sheet, an eviction notice. "This condo," Serena said, "is now listed as corporate housing. You are not an employee. You have 24 hours to vacate." Patricia snatched the paper. Her hands trembled so violently she tore the page. "You wouldn't dare!" she screamed. "I'm a mother. I'm an older woman. Where am I supposed to go?" "That isn't my concern," Serena replied. "For 10 years you told me I lived off your generosity. Now you'll learn what that actually feels like." Patricia collapsed into the chair, stripped of her grandeur. No queen, just a frightened woman whose schemes had crumbled. 24 hours, Serena repeated. Patricia's eyes burned with hatred, not sorrow, not reflection, but pure bitterness. "This is your fault," she shrieked suddenly. "If you had disappeared sooner, none of this would have happened. Marcus would have gotten the money. We'd be living in luxury." Serena froze. "You knew about the contract?" she asked quietly. Patricia laughed sharp, hysterical. "Of course I knew. I encouraged him to take that loan. I told him, 'Take it, Marcus. That little village, nobody won't cause trouble. In a week, all her inheritance will be ours.' We had everything planned." She leaned forward, eyes blazing with spite. "You think your saintly father ever cared about you?" Patricia sneered. "You think he didn't know what he was doing? Ha! The letters." She spat the word like poison. "He wrote to you every month. 'My dear Serena, how are you?'" Patricia imitated a soft voice dripping with cruelty. "Such pathetic sentiment. I intercepted every letter from the mailbox before you even woke up." Serena felt as if the room tilted. Her father had written to her every month? She had spent years believing he was disappointed in her, angry that she'd left home. Years thinking he didn't care. "And do you know what I did next?" Patricia continued, savoring every word. "I wrote back to him, in handwriting that looked just like yours." Serena's breath caught. "Dad, don't write to me. I'm ashamed of your poverty. Send money or forget my name." Patricia recited the forged message with vicious satisfaction. The silence that followed was suffocating. Serena stared at the woman in front of her and finally understood the depth of her malice. For 10 years, Serena had cried into her pillow, feeling abandoned. For 10 years, she believed her father had chosen silence. But it was Patricia, just Patricia, who had severed their bond, for greed, for control, for a contract. You are a monster," Serena whispered. "I'm a mother who wanted what was best for her son," Patricia snapped, "and you were nothing but an obstacle." Mr. James stepped forward from the shadows, his jaw tight, his face flushed with anger. "Serena," he said in a low voice, "allow me to remove her from this house right now. No need to wait 24 hours. Patricia flinched at the sight of him. Serena stood straighter. "No, she'll pack her belongings herself, every item, every trinket. Let her feel each moment of what she caused." She stepped toward Patricia. "The letters," Serena said quietly. "Where are they? Did you destroy them?" Patricia's lips twisted into a triumphant smile. "No, I kept them in a shoebox on the top shelf. Trophies from my victory over you." "Get out," Serena said softly. "Go to the condo, pack, and if I don't find that box when I inspect it tomorrow, I will file charges for mail tampering and forgery. Then you'll lose more than your home." Patricia's face went chalk white. She grabbed her handbag and stumbled out. A moment later, the front door slammed. Serena collapsed onto the sofa, strength draining from her legs. "He wrote to me," she whispered, "all this time." Mr. James placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "He did, Serena. And he suspected the letters weren't reaching you. He kept writing anyway so that when the truth surfaced, you would have proof of his love." Serena bowed her head, tears falling. But these tears were different. They healed instead of wounding. She wasn't alone. She had never been alone. Suddenly she straightened. "Let's go," she said, wiping her face. "To the office. I want to see the accounting records. I want to know what else that family spent my money on while his mother was stealing my letters." While Serena drove toward the office tower, Marcus was knocking at a new apartment building on the outskirts of the city. The door opened, revealing Chloe, his former secretary, a tall blonde, now clearly pregnant. "Marcus?" She blinked, surprised to see him standing there with a travel bag. "Why are you here? You said you'd kick out that gray mouse today?" Marcus pushed inside without removing his shoes. "Plans changed, kitten," he said, tossing the bag into the hallway. "We ran into legal complications. She faked documents. I need to stay here a couple of days while my lawyer fixes everything." Chloe frowned. She'd waited for this day, dreamed of moving into the mansion. "What complications? You said we'd live in the estate." "We will," Marcus barked, then quickly softened his tone. "Of course we will. I just need time. I'll claim she's mentally unstable. The judge will believe me. The money isn't going anywhere. It's mine." Chloe hesitated. She wanted to believe him. She had his child, the heir, as Marcus liked to say. "All right," she sighed. "But I need money for my appointment tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Marcus muttered, collapsing onto the sofa. "Everything tomorrow." But tomorrow arrived sooner than he expected, not through lawyers, but through Chloe. She wasn't naive. She'd read the news. The scandal at Patricia's party was all over social networks. Fear crept into her, fear of being left with nothing. So, she acted. An hour later, Chloe stormed into the community center where Serena, despite everything, was conducting choir rehearsal for children. Parents gathered, children practiced. Serena stood by the piano trying to focus. The doors burst open. "There she is!" Chloe shouted, pointing at Serena. "The thief!" Music stopped. Children jumped. Parents gasped. Chloe marched down the aisle, her pregnancy visible, her voice rising. "She pretends to be a saint, but she stole from her husband. She kicked him out with nothing. She took everything." Serena froze, recognizing her. The girl from Marcus's phone. The colleague she had pretended not to question. "Ma'am, please leave. There are children here," Serena said calmly, though her stomach twisted. "I won't leave," Chloe screamed. "You ruined my baby's future. You couldn't give Marcus children in 10 years? Jealous much?" A shockwave moved through the hall. Everyone knew Serena's struggle, how she longed for a family, how much heartbreak she had endured. "You thief!" Chloe yelled, stepping up to the stage. "Give Marcus his company back." "Security," Serena said sharply. 2 guards rushed forward, gently lifting Chloe by the arms. "Don't touch me. I'm carrying the child of the real owner of Thorn Group," she screamed as they dragged her out. The doors slammed. Silence flooded the room. Parents exchanged uneasy glances, some sympathetic, others judgmental. "Rehearsal is over," Serena said quietly. "I'm sorry, everyone." She gathered her music sheets and hurried out the staff exit, where Mr. James was already waiting. "To the office," she said. "Now." In Marcus's former office, her office now, Serena sat at the computer. She needed answers. She needed clarity. She needed something to steady her heart after Chloe's cruelty. "Show me his personal expenses," Serena told Mr. James. "Everything he charged to the company." They scrolled. Restaurants, hotels, jewelry, predictable. Then one line stood out. $8,500, monthly payment recipient, Beaumont Center for Reproductive Health Purpose, consulting services. "Beaumont," Serena whispered. And then her chest tightened. She knew that clinic. She had been there herself. "I went there for treatment," Serena murmured. "It's a fertility clinic." Her brows knitted. Marcus had always insisted that extra procedures were too expensive, that they needed to save. Yet, according to the bank records, he had been paying the clinic thousands every month. "Mr. James," Serena said, printing the statement, her voice icy. "We're going to Beaumont, now." The clinic was quiet, sterile, almost humming with fluorescent light. Serena pushed open the office door of the chief physician, Dr. Morova, the man who'd treated her for years. He startled when he saw her. "Serena, you don't have an appointment." She slapped the bank statement onto his desk. "Explain this. Marcus Thorne has been sending you money every month for 5 years. Why? My treatments were paid at the cashier." Dr. Morova's face turned chalk white. He removed his glasses, wiping them with trembling fingers. That is confidential information," he whispered. "I am the owner of the company those funds came from," Serena said sharply. "And I am your patient. You can explain now, or in 1 hour the district attorney's office will be reviewing your license." The doctor exhaled, defeated. Marcus no longer had any power, and he knew it. "Marcus Thorne paid me," he said softly, "to adjust your therapy." Serena's blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" "You are healthy, Serena," he whispered. "Completely healthy. You never had any infertility issues." Serena went still, frozen. The room tilted. "But you told me the tests, the pills." "The tests were normal," he admitted. "Marcus instructed no, demanded that I give you false diagnoses." He hesitated, then forced the last truth out. "The pills you took for 5 years, the ones you believed were fertility stimulants, were strong hormonal contraceptives." Serena grabbed the edge of the desk to keep from collapsing. "Contraceptives?" she whispered. "I was taking birth control while believing I was being treated?" "Yes," the doctor said quietly. "Marcus said a child didn't fit into his plans, and an heir would complicate any separation. He paid me to ensure you would not conceive while still believing you were trying." Silence filled the room, thick, suffocating. Serena's mind flashed with memories. The injections, the appointments, the prayers, the nights she cried in Marcus's arms, begging fate for a miracle. And Marcus calm, comforting, always repeating the same words. "Maybe it's simply not meant to be." He hadn't just withheld love, he had stolen her chance at motherhood. He had orchestrated her grief. Serena lifted her eyes to the doctor. There were no tears left, only a void, deep and dark. "You betrayed your oath," she said quietly, "and you sold it for $50,000 a month." She turned and walked out. Mr. James stood in the hallway, fists clenched until his knuckles were white. He had heard everything. "Serena," he began. "Don't," she cut him off. "No explanations, no sympathy." She stopped in the corridor. Her face had hardened into something fierce and unbreakable. "We're going home," she said. "No, we're going to take everything he has left." She pulled out her phone. "Hello, this is Serena Hawthorne. Block all corporate cards issued in the name of Marcus Thorne. Terminate the lease on his company SUV, effective immediately." Click. Call ended. It felt like pulling a trigger. Meanwhile, at a gas station on the city's edge, Marcus was filling his SUV, feeling triumphant again. Chloe was waiting at home. His idea to declare Serena unfit seemed brilliant. He swiped his platinum corporate card. Beep, declined. He frowned. Swiped again. Declined. Contact bank. "What kind of cheap machine is this?" He snapped at the attendant. He pulled out his gold card. Declined. Then his personal card. Declined. "Sir?" the cashier said over the speaker. "Are you going to pay? You're blocking the line." Marcus dug through his wallet. Only $20 remained, nowhere near enough for fuel. Then, without warning, the engine of his luxury SUV shut off. A message flashed across the dashboard. "Remote engine lockout. Contact leasing company." "What?" Marcus shouted. "You can't do this. I'm the CEO." He called the leasing company. "Mr. Thorne," the representative said coolly, "the lease has been terminated at the request of the company owner, Miss Hawthorne. A tow truck is en route. Please remove your belongings from the vehicle." Marcus stood on the pavement, stunned. Drivers honked behind him. His SUV, symbol of his success, was being reclaimed in front of everyone. He threw his phone into the seat and shouted, "Fine, I'll walk, but this isn't over." He grabbed his briefcase and stormed away as the tow truck rolled in. Dust clung to his shoes as he walked along the road shoulder, sweating, seething. Money. He needed money, now to hire attorneys, to fight his incompetent wife, to regain control. He looked at his wrist, his luxury Swiss watch, his pride, his status symbol. "A pawn shop," he muttered. "That's the solution." 1 hour later, Marcus stormed into a high-end pawn shop and slammed the watch onto the counter. "I need to sell this. It's worth $1 million. I'll take half now, we'll settle later." The appraiser, an older man, examined it with a jeweler's loupe, checked the mechanism, turned it over. Then he sighed. "Young man," he said gently, "I don't purchase replicas, even good ones." Marcus blinked. Are you blind? It's real. Important people gave it to me. The appraiser shook his head. The mechanism is from an inexpensive factory. The case is gold-plated, not gold. At most, it's worth $50 at a flea market. Marcus snatched the watch back, shaking. His trusted partners, the men he admired, had gifted him a knockoff. He had worn it proudly for 5 years. A hot wave of humiliation washed over him. He burst out of the shop and into the street, the city spinning around him. Everything, his wealth, his influence, his image, was collapsing. And Serena hadn't even started yet. He had to call one of them. Someone had to help. He had done favors for these people for years. They owed him. Marcus scrolled through his contacts. Boris Peterson, owner of a construction firm. "Borea, buddy. It's Marcus. Listen, I've got a situation, temporary trouble. I need your help cutting off my wife's access to—" "Marcus," Boris interrupted, his tone dry as dust. "Don't call me again. We work with Fletcher Bloit now. The real decision-maker. We don't need your problems." Click, dial tone, next contact. Arcadius, a councilman. "RC, it's Marcus. I need—" "Subscriber temporarily unavailable." One call after another, voicemail, cold refusals, or worse, mocking politeness. Everyone had abandoned him. They all knew now what he had always feared. He was nothing but decoration propped up by Serena's family wealth, and that decoration had shattered. Despair washed over him like black water. He had no car, no money, no allies, no real friends. Even his expensive watch had turned out to be a cheap replica. Chloe was expecting money. If he returned empty-handed, even she would slam the door in his face. Then he remembered the old Thorne family cabin. He despised the place, but he hadn't sold it, only because Patricia insisted it stay in the family. Inside hung the antique icons, his grandmother's icons, silver-framed, supposedly ancient, supposedly worth a fortune. "The icons," Marcus muttered. "I'll sell them. That'll be enough to start over." He flagged down a passing car, promising the driver he'd transfer the payment once he had internet access. At the cabin, the building greeted him with the smell of damp leaves and stale air. Marcus didn't bother with the key. He kicked the porch door open. Inside, dust motes swirled in slanted light, and there they were, 3 icons on the shelf. Saint Nicholas, the Mother of God, the Savior. He dragged a chair beneath them and lifted the center icon with trembling hands. "Forgive me, saints," he muttered, forcing a laugh, "but business is business." He flipped the icon over and froze, written on the back in cheap marker, "Reproduction, 2018, Sofrino Art Workshop." "What?" Marcus shouted. He tore the second icon down. "Reproduction," the third. "Reproduction." He hurled one to the floor. The frame cracked, revealing a printed lithograph glued to plywood. "Looking for the originals, Mr. Thorne?" Marcus spun around. Mr. James stood in the doorway, hands in pockets, looking at Marcus the way one might look at a misbehaving cat. "You!" Marcus shrieked. "You stole them! Where are the icons?" "I didn't steal them," Mr. James replied calmly. "I protected them." He stepped into the room. "5 years ago, when you used your mother's condo as collateral, I realized what kind of man you were. A man who would sell everything, including these. So I replaced them with copies. The originals are in a safe deposit box in Serena's name." A hot wave of fury surged through Marcus. This old driver, this nobody, had been 3 steps ahead of him all these years. "You were always against me," Marcus hissed, advancing. "Spying on me." "I was watching," Mr. James said simply. "Listening." He pulled out his phone. "Would you like to hear what I heard?" He pressed play. Marcus's voice spilled from the speakers recorded in the car, likely from a dashcam he forgot existed. "Yeah, Chloe, just hang on. Once I get full control, I'll clean house. I'll send that gray mouse to a mental facility and get rid of the old driver first. Or better, frame him for stealing spare parts and let him rot. He knows too much." Chloe giggled on the recording. "You're so ruthless, kitten." "I'm realistic," Marcus's recorded voice replied. "Only the strong survive. That old man is disposable, just like my wife." The recording ended. Mr. James lowered the phone. "You wanted to ruin me," he said quietly, "for something I never did. And now here you are breaking into someone else's property, smashing what you thought were valuable artifacts. That's unlawful entry and attempted theft." Marcus looked around wildly. The kicked-in door, the broken frame, the incriminating scene. He was trapped. "Mr. James," Marcus stammered suddenly, his voice turning pathetic. "Why get law enforcement involved? We're practically family. I was angry, that's all. Let's make a deal. I'll pay you later, once I get everything back." The driver's eyes hardened with cold contempt. "You still don't understand. Money doesn't decide anything here anymore." He nodded toward the open window. "I called a squad 10 minutes ago." A siren wailed in the distance. Marcus bolted toward the window, but Mr. James blocked him with one arm. The older man was surprisingly strong. Marcus hit the arm, bounced off, and slammed into the wall. "Sit," Mr. James ordered. "It's time to answer for your words." Moments later, officers stormed inside. Within a minute, Marcus lay face down on the floor, wrists in handcuffs. Led out like a low-level criminal, shoved into the patrol car, humiliated to the bone. At the precinct, Marcus sat on the bench, the cell reeking of sweat and hopelessness. He clutched his phone. One call aloud, not to a lawyer, to his last remaining card. "Sergio, it's Thorne. I'm in custody. Get me out. You owe me." A favor from years ago when Marcus had covered up a serious family incident for the district attorney. 2 hours later, he was released on his own recognizance, free, filthy, furious. If Serena thought she had beaten him, she was wrong. She took his company, his accounts, his car, but he still had his reputation, and he planned to use it like a weapon. "Destroy her publicly," he muttered. "Make her beg me to stop." He hailed a taxi and rode to his mother's condo. Patricia sat among boxes, tear-streaked and shaken. When she saw him, she rushed toward him. "Marcus, you came. You fixed everything. We're staying." He grabbed her shoulders firmly. "Listen carefully, Mom. We don't have time for tears." Patricia blinked. "What's happening?" "We're going to the bank," Marcus said, eyes glowing with a manic kind of clarity. "I've already contacted reporters." Her breath caught. He smiled, a razored, desperate smile. "We're going to destroy Serena." "There's a press conference at the City News Center in an hour," Marcus said, pacing the room like a caged animal. "You're going to go out there and call Serena a menace." "A menace?" Patricia blinked in confusion. "Yes," Marcus snapped. "You'll say she mistreated you for 10 years, that she's unstable, that she struck you, that she forced us to hand the company over under threats." "But Marcus, that's not true," Patricia whispered. "She wouldn't hurt anyone. And the company, there are documents." "To hell with the documents," Marcus roared, grabbing her shoulders. "Public opinion matters. If we cause enough outrage, if people believe she's dangerous, we can challenge everything in court. We'll claim I was under pressure, hypnosis, whatever works." He shoved a sheet of paper into her hands. It was filled with his handwriting. "Here's the script. Memorize it. You need to cry, understand? You look helpless, betrayed, a miserable mother being thrown onto the street by a heartless daughter-in-law. Practice tears. Now." Patricia's eyes skimmed the lines. "She starved us. She threatened my son. She's part of a cult." "Marcus," Patricia whispered, horrified. "This is too much." "No one will expose anything if you do it right," he snapped. "Either you say this, or tomorrow you sleep in a shelter. Choose." Fear, that old, familiar fear, twisted her stomach. She nodded. The press conference. An hour later, dozens of journalists filled the City News Center. The scandal had become the main topic of the week. Cameras were trained on Marcus and Patricia. Marcus wore an old sweater, one of the few things left after losing access to his wardrobe. His hair was messy, his expression pitiful. He perfected the image of a man devastated. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began in a trembling voice, "I remained silent for 10 years. But yesterday was the breaking point. My wife, Serena Thorne, took my business by force. But worse, she's destroying my family." He paused dramatically, wiping away a non-existent tear. "I ask my mother, Patricia, to speak. Mom, Don't be afraid." In her office, Serena watched Mr. James hovered nearby. "Should I mute it?" he asked softly, noticing Serena's white knuckles. "No," Serena said. "I want to see how far they'll fall." On screen, Patricia pulled the microphone toward herself. She looked miserable, trembling hands, unfocused eyes. Marcus squeezed her hand under the table. To the cameras, it looked supportive. But Serena saw the pressure, the threat. I want to make a statement," Patricia began. Marcus leaned closer, whispering through clenched teeth. "Say it. Read the script. Now." But something small and stubborn shifted inside her. She remembered Marcus shouting at her earlier, forcing her to take the loan, blaming her for his failures, treating her not as a mother, but as a tool. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the same cold calculation she'd seen when he shoved loan papers in front of her. If he regained power, would he protect her or discard her the moment she became inconvenient? The answer burned in his eyes. "Mom, speak," Marcus hissed, squeezing her wrist hard enough to make her wince. Patricia jerked her hand away. "My son is lying," she said loudly into the microphone. The room fell silent. Marcus froze, eyes wide. "What?" he hissed. "Are you out of your mind? Read the script." "No," Patricia snapped, slamming her palm onto the table. "I will not read this nonsense." She faced the cameras, voice trembling but truthful. "He forced me to come here. He wrote this script." Gasps, flashbulbs, chaos. Patricia crumpled the paper and threw it in Marcus's face. "Serena is not at fault. My son wanted me to lie." Journalists surged forward. Marcus lunged, trying to cover her mouth. "She's confused. Don't listen. She has memory problems." Patricia dug her nails into his arm. "I do not have memory problems. He's responsible for everything. He misused funds. He made me put my condo at risk." "That's a lie," Marcus screamed. "You signed the documents." "I did not," Patricia shouted. "You brought me those papers when I was sick. You told me it was insurance. It wasn't my signature. I saw it later. You forged it. You forged your own mother's signature." The room exploded. Marcus stumbled away from her as if burned. She had accused him on live television of a serious criminal act. "You," he whispered, horrified. "You're sending me to prison." Patricia leaned forward, voice low, deadly. "Better you go to prison than I end up on the street." Her next words were for Serena. "Serena, if you hear me, I'm willing to testify. I'll tell you everything, his accounts, his schemes, how he sold your jewelry. Just don't throw me out." Back in her office, Serena exhaled slowly. She hadn't expected Patricia to turn so violently against her own son. "Well," Mr. James murmured, "the mother sacrificed the son to save herself." "She's not saving herself," Serena said. "She simply switched allegiance. She serves whoever has more power. She always has." Serena muted the screen. Marcus was shouting silently, surrounded by flashing cameras. Patricia sobbed beside him. "Mr. James," Serena said, "call the lawyers. Have them contact Patricia. If she'll testify about the forged signature, we can reverse the condo lien." "You want to give her back her home?" the driver asked. "I want the condo back on the company's balance sheet," Serena corrected. "She can stay there, but only as a tenant at will. Every day she lives there knowing I can evict her at any moment. That will humble her more than anything else." "And Marcus?" he asked. Serena's gaze hardened. His mother just sealed his fate. He can't talk or charm his way out now. At that moment, Mr. James's phone rang. He handed it to Serena. "It's security," he said. "They say Marcus escaped through the back door of the press center." The journalists almost tore him apart. "Where would he go?" Serena asked. "He has nowhere left," Mr. James replied. "No condo, no car, no money. Even his mother turned on him. There's only one place left where he'll try to snatch some last shred of control." Serena immediately understood. "The community center," she said quietly. "The annual concert is tonight." "He'll go there," Mr. James confirmed. "He'll try to cause a scene." Serena stood. "Then we should meet him properly." "Marcus," Running, desperate, cornered, he ran through narrow back alleys, hood pulled low, dodging streetlights like a fugitive. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, reporters desperate for comments, so he hurled it into a trash can. He needed a safe place, a familiar door, someone, anyone still on his side. Chloe. He reached her apartment by dusk. The key still worked. He stumbled inside. "Chloe, pack your things. We're leaving now." Silence. He walked into the bedroom. Empty. Closets open, hangers scattered, drawers pulled out. Her things. Gone. He rushed to the dresser, yanking out the bottom drawer. There, under his socks, he had hidden the last bundle of cash he'd saved from the office safe. The drawer was empty. A note lay in its place, written in lipstick. "Marcus, you're a failure. I'm not raising a child for a man with no future. I took the money as payment for wasted time. Goodbye." Marcus let out a sound that wasn't human, a ragged howl of despair. Everyone had left him. His mother, his wife, his mistress. He slumped to the floor. "It's over," he choked. "Everyone betrayed me." Then a thought ignited in his mind, bright, toxic, irresistible. Serena. This was all her fault. She turned everyone against him. She had humiliated him. She had taken everything. He had to confront her, force her to give it all back. He knew exactly where she would be. The concert. Marcus's eyes blazed with madness. He rose and ran. Inside the community center, the auditorium glowed softly. The children's choir stood in neat rows, white shirts bright under the stage lights. Serena, dressed in a simple black gown, held her conductor's baton high. Music began, pure, angelic voices filling the hall. Parents smiled, a few wiped tears. For a moment, Serena felt peace. Then, bang. The back doors slammed open. The music faltered. Heads turned. Marcus stood in the aisle, filthy, trembling, wild-eyed. "Bravo!" he shouted, clapping mockingly. "Bravo, Saint Serena!" The children fell silent. Parents stiffened. Marcus staggered down the aisle. "Look at her," he yelled, "standing there like she's perfect. But she's a liar, a thief. She stole my life." He reached the middle of the hall, spittle flying, voice cracking. "Give me back my company," he screamed. "Give me back my money. You're a nobody, a music teacher. Your place is here, not in a CEO's office." Serena lowered the baton. She turned slowly. Her gaze was calm, tired, and full of pity. "Marcus," she said softly into the microphone, "leave. Don't frighten the children." "I won't leave," he roared, lunging toward the stage. But he didn't get far. A tall factory worker, father of one of the choir kids, stood up in the front row. He moved into the aisle, blocking Marcus's path. "Listen, buddy," he said, voice low and steady. "You need to go. Serena asked you not to disrupt this." Another parent rose behind him. Then another. Then women in the audience stood, shielding the children. "Get out!" shouted a grandmother from the balcony. "Don't you dare touch our Serena!" "Shame! Troublemaker!" Marcus spun in place, stunned. He was surrounded, not by elites or executives, but by ordinary people. People he had always dismissed as nobodies. But tonight, their eyes burned with unity and fierce protectiveness. He was utterly alone. You don't understand," Marcus whispered, stepping back. "She tricked me." "You tricked everyone," the worker said, stepping closer. "We saw the news. You deceived your wife, used your mother. That's on you, not her. Leave before we call the police, or before we handle it ourselves." Marcus looked desperately at the stage. "Serena," he begged, "tell them, I'm your husband. I'm the owner. I demand to speak to the owner." Serena placed her baton on the stand. She stepped off the stage. The crowd parted for her like water. She walked toward Marcus, calm, dignified, unshaken. She stopped 2 steps from him. "You wanted to speak to the owner?" she said softly. "I'm here." Marcus lunged, but the factory worker placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. He couldn't move. "Serena," Marcus whispered, voice breaking. "Serena, let's make a deal. I'll leave. Just give me something. Half. A little. Please. Serena extended her hand. Mr. James stepped forward and placed a slim blue folder into her palm. No deal, Marcus, she said. This isn't a negotiation. You have only 2 paths left. She opened the folder. Option 1. Legal consequences. My attorneys and auditors have completed their review. Fraud, forgery, unauthorized financial activity, misuse of assets. These charges amount to roughly 15 years. Marcus swayed, knees buckling. 15? Serena! Don't do this! Please! Your mother already gave a statement, Serena continued. Your doctor has pled guilty. And Chloe, well, you know where she is. Marcus's face drained of all color. Please, Serena, I'll fix it. I'll earn it. You can't give anything back. You have nothing. She removed a second document. Option 2. Marcus snatched it with trembling hands. What is this? An employment contract, Serena replied. For the position of junior logistics coordinator. He scanned the details. Location: Northern Distribution Hub. He looked up in horror. No, you can't be serious. That outpost in Alaska? The one I created to send incompetent workers? It's wilderness, frozen barracks. No sunlight in winter. Serena nodded. Exactly. You once called it a correctional camp for people who couldn't keep up, Serena said coolly. Well, now it's your workplace. Me? A junior coordinator? Marcus choked, his face twisting in disbelief. I'm a CEO. I'm not going to the tundra to sort shipping forms. Oh, you are, Serena replied, her tone like steel. It's the only alternative to legal consequences. Sign this contract now, and I'll withdraw the report regarding the theft at the cabin. I'm offering you a chance to stay free and repay what you owe through honest work. Your salary will cover basic needs. The rest will go toward the debt you created. Marcus stared at the paper. It wasn't just a job, it was exile, humiliation. He, Marcus Thorne, once a man who strutted through boardrooms, now expected to live in a frozen outpost and take orders from a mid-level supervisor he himself had hired years ago. And if I refuse? Marcus whispered. Serena nodded toward Mr. James. The driver lifted 2 fingers. 2 officers stepped into the doorway of the auditorium. They didn't need to say a word. They simply waited. They're waiting for my signal, Serena said calmly. You have 2 choices. Sign now and board your train at 6:30 tomorrow morning, or walk out of here in handcuffs. Decide. Marcus looked at the officers, then at the circle of parents and community members surrounding him, people who clearly wanted him gone, then at Serena, who was no longer the timid woman he once mocked, but a force whose quiet resolve had dismantled his entire world. His pride screamed to refuse, but fear was stronger. Pen, he croaked. Mr. James handed him a simple ballpoint pen. Grinding his teeth, Marcus signed. That's everything, Serena said, taking the contract. Your train leaves tomorrow morning. Coach class. One way. Don't be late. She raised her voice to the audience. Children, I apologize for the interruption. The concert will continue. She walked back to the stage without a single glance at her husband. Marcus remained standing there, clutching his copy of the contract like a sentence. People stepped around him as they returned to their seats, not angrily, just dismissively, as though stepping around something discarded. The officers turned and left. Mr. James approached. Time to go, junior coordinator, he said quietly. You'll need to pack. Though, to be fair, there isn't much left for you to pack. Marcus stumbled toward the exit as the orchestra began again, music rising behind him like a door closing on the last warm place he'd ever known. Outside, the autumn night felt colder than ever. He had no choice now but to head for the train station. 3 months later. The city had transformed. The Thorne Group sign had been taken down and replaced with a modest, elegant new one, the Bloit Cultural Foundation, named for Serena's mother. The CEO's office no longer smelled of cigars and expensive drinks. Fresh flowers stood on the windowsill. The desk held plans for new arts programs, scholarships, and community projects, not hidden budgets and questionable deals. Serena stepped out of the Beaumont Center, smiling with a joy she could hardly contain. In her hands was a folder of test results from the new physician she trusted completely. She exhaled into the cold air. Her health had recovered. Her chances of a natural pregnancy were high. For the first time, the future felt wide open. At the curb, the familiar black sedan idled. Mr. James, now officially the head of security, but still preferring to drive Serena personally, opened the door. "Good news?" he asked, noticing her radiant smile. "The best," Serena replied, sliding inside. "We're beginning the protocol. The doctor says by spring, I may finally become a mother." Mr. James let out a genuine, warm smile. "Thank God." The car glided into traffic. "Oh," he added, glancing at the mirror. "Patricia called. She wanted to thank you for paying her utility bill, and she asked if she could adopt a kitten. She's lonely in that small studio." Serena looked out the window thoughtfully. Patricia now lived in a tiny, simple unit on the outskirts, a far cry from her previous luxury condo. No staff, no marble floors, just a modest pension and a monthly allowance dependent on good behavior, and strangely, it seemed to have humbled her. "Let her get one," Serena said. "Animals make people gentler. Maybe it will soften her heart for real this time." The city glowed with holiday lights as the car moved down Central Avenue. "And our Arctic coordinator?" Serena asked casually, not using his name. "He didn't make it to Alaska," Mr. James replied with a small, wry smile. "He was dismissed during training at the local office." "Dismissed?" Serena repeated. "Turns out he couldn't manage the basics. Mixed up shipments, misplaced forms, insulted supervisors, kept shouting that he was the former owner. He was let go after 3 days. And now? He's free, but he still needs to survive." The car slowed at a red light. "With his work record and reputation," Mr. James continued, "no one will hire him for office work. Look to your right, Serena." She turned her head. On the icy sidewalk stood a municipal worker in an orange vest, chipping frozen slush from the curb with a heavy iron tool. His face was gray with cold, his beard unkempt, his posture slumped. It was Marcus, the man who once looked down on anyone with a modest job, now did the work he used to sneer at. He paused, breathing heavily, and turned his head. He recognized the sedan, the license plate, the silhouette in the back seat. His eyes filled not with anger, but with a deep, hollow sorrow, a grief for a world he had destroyed with his own choices. Serena watched him. She expected triumph, vindication, something sharp. Instead, she felt nothing. No bitterness, no satisfaction, only calm. He was simply part of a past that no longer held any power over her. "The light is green," Mr. James said gently. Serena faced forward. "Let's go, Mr. James," she said softly. "We have a lot to do. Rehearsal tonight." The car pulled forward, leaving Marcus behind in the drifting snow, and moved toward a brighter future. The car pulled away smoothly, its headlights melting into the evening traffic, while the man in the orange vest faded into the shadows behind them. Marcus watched the taillights disappear, then tightened his grip on the iron pole and went back to clearing the ice. In the quiet warmth of the sedan, Serena took out her phone and dialed her father. "Hi, Dad. Yes, I'm on my way home. No, I'm not alone anymore. I have hope with me now, and love. I'll visit the farm this weekend. Wait for me." She smiled at her faint reflection in the window. Her new life was just beginning, and for the first time, every note in her story rang true. Well, friends, that's the end of this chapter. To be honest, I got chills while reading you this finale. Now I want to know what you think. Did Serena act fairly? Some might argue she was too harsh, sending her husband into a completely new life, placing boundaries with her mother-in-law, choosing not to rescue them financially after so many years together. She could have simply walked away and let them start over on their own, but others would say Marcus hardly earned mercy. He manipulated her treatment, undermined her health, forged documents, and was willing to sacrifice his own mother for money. Compared to that, a difficult job and a modest life are gentle consequences. Life itself answered him with the same coldness he showed the people around him. And Patricia? She chose survival over loyalty, just as she always had. Perhaps a simple life will finally soften her heart. Now I'm very curious. What would you have done in Serena's place? Would you have forgiven or gone even further? Should she have let the law take its full course, or did she choose the right balance between justice and restraint? Write your thoughts in the comments. I always read them and I love hearing your perspectives. If this story resonated with you, if you felt every one of Serena's steps toward her new life, please give this video a like. It truly helps the channel grow and bring you more stories like this. And don't forget to subscribe. We have many more dramatic, emotional, unforgettable stories ahead. Do you want to know how Serena's life unfolds next? Did she become a mother? Did she find real love? Did Marcus ever change? If you want a continuation, write "I want part 2" in the comments. If enough of you ask, I'll definitely bring you the next chapter. At the end of this video, a window will appear in the center of your screen. Click on it to watch another one of our most captivating stories. See you soon.